6 people in the state of Nevada had gathered to sign what was a fake elector sheet saying that they were giving the 6 electoral votes in Nevada and declaring Donald Trump the winner. The problem, this is all fake. Even though it looks like a ceremony, it's not. And this became part of the charade of the 2020 lie. And so the Attorney General in Nevada has now announced these indictments handed down by a grand jury.
Those were 6 people about to find out that the only thing worse than listening to Donald Trump is doing the things he asked you to do. And this is Progressive Matters. On Wednesday, Nevada charged 6 Republicans, including the state Republican Party chair, for pretending to be state electors in 2020 to commit the treasonous act of falsely electing Donald Trump. Nevada State Attorney General Aaron Ford was quoted as saying, "When the efforts to undermine faith in our democracy began after the 2020 election, I made it clear that I would do everything in my power to defend the institutions of our nation and our state. We cannot allow attacks on democracy to go unchallenged." If you haven't been able to keep up with the myriad amount of crimes and potential crimes committed by the former president's army of treacherous, power-hungry, and now current witnesses for the state of Georgia, that is completely understandable. In 7 states across the U.S., GOP operatives signed certificates falsely stating that they were the state's electoral college representatives and tried to claim that Trump had won their states. Nevada is now the 3rd state to seek charges against these fake electors installed by Trump and his cronies to help overturn the election results. And this particular set of potentially criminal actions began when Trump attorney Kenneth Chesebro, who just accepted a plea deal to testify in the Georgia racketeering case, laid out the details of the fake elector scheme, hoping to use the conflict of the Nixon-Kennedy presidential race of 1960, where both candidates had a set of its own slate of electors created in Hawaii during a recount of the state's votes. Nixon, who was counting the votes, received 3 sets of votes pertaining to Hawaii's electoral results. One from his slate of electors, one from Kennedy's, and of course the one duly elected by the governor of Hawaii. Nixon, however, it turns out, is less criminally inclined than Trump and his sycophants, because when he received the competing slates of electors, he agreed that the 3rd legitimately elected set were to be the ones counted. Thus, the difference being that in Nixon's case, once the vote had been verified, he determined that Hawaii's legitimate electoral votes would be counted and verified for his opponent. Mr. Trump, on the other hand, despite the fact that he had been told by his campaign aides and eventually even his own attorney general that there were no legitimate claims of fraud sufficient to change the outcome of the race, Mr. Trump and his allies barreled ahead with the electors' plan nonetheless, with an increasing focus on using the ceremonial congressional certification process on January 6th to derail the transfer of power. Ultimately, several dozen of Mr. Trump's allies in the state signed false slates of electors, and most were unequivocal in their contention that Mr. Trump had won. Turning to then Vice President Mike Pence to attempt to get him to accept the false vote, former Trump attorney and the next potential Trump crony to accept a plea deal with the state of Georgia, John Eastman sent this memo, which details exactly how, why, and when Pence should go about using the fake elector votes to stall or potentially overturn the election results, even planning for the possibility of Pence recusing himself from committing treason. You know, just in case Mother didn't give him permission. Eastman pointed out that once Pence had reached the Arizona votes, he could claim that there were multiple slates of electors, and that he would defer that decision until later. After that, he would finish counting the votes, but because of the 7 states with alternative electors, he would claim that there were no electors that could be deemed valid appointed in those states, leaving Pence to claim that Trump had 232 votes, while Biden only had 222, leaving Trump as the president of the United States of America. If Democrats protested, Pence was to send it to the House of Representatives pursuant to the 12th Amendment, allowing each state one vote, with Republicans holding 26 state delegations. This would have once again allowed Trump to retain the presidency. Barely. And of course, this was all done under the auspice that the vice president, through the power of the Constitution, was the ultimate arbiter. Something that Pence responded to by saying before the certification, "Our founders were deeply skeptical of concentrations of power and created a republic based on separation of powers and checks and balances under the Constitution of the United States." Vesting the vice president with unilateral authority to decide presidential contests would be entirely antithetical to that design. Joint sessions have uniformly followed the Electoral Count Act, conducting the proceedings in an orderly manner even where the count resulted in the defeat of their party or their own candidacy. This seems like a hell of a lot of work and planning for someone who claims that the allegations pertaining to his attempts to overturn the election are false. Being that it's Donald Trump, this story has plenty of self-incrimination. In fact, a pro-Trump lawyer based in Arizona wrote in an email, "We would just be sending in fake electoral votes to Pence so that someone in Congress can make an objection when they start counting votes and start arguing that the fake vote should be counted." Obviously, this was all done in the hopes that this would sow discord or to potentially have Trump's fake votes accepted, allowing Trump to retain the presidency. At the least, they hoped that this confusion could lead Pence to declare the election to be irreparably defective, and under the Electoral Count Act of 1887, let state delegations in the House of Representatives decide the election themselves, a process that would also have given Mr. Trump his victory. Many of the fake electors were highly ranked state Republicans. The Nevada fake electors included Nevada GOP Chair Michael McDonald. No, not that Michael McDonald. Republican Party co-chair Meshawn Maddock and State Republican National Committee woman Kathy Burton were charged in the Michigan case as well. There is also an investigation into the fake elector scheme in Arizona, where Kenneth Chesbro will be meeting with state investigators soon. Meanwhile, in Wisconsin, 10 Republicans who posed as fake electors settled a lawsuit over their actions on Wednesday. Under the agreement, the Republicans acknowledged that Biden had won the state and promised not to serve as electors in 2024 or any other election where Trump is on the ballot. That sounds suspiciously like they did something they shouldn't have. For the 6 Republicans charged in Nevada, I'm sure they will reach a similar deal with the state. Because it turns out, not everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Remember, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Except for herpes. That shit'll come back with you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. And remember, get educated and get out and vote.